Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime, here at my next episode review for Star Wars Rebels. This is going to be the review for Season 1, Episode 2, Droids in Distress. So I think that's the way they're working it, that they're going to call it the Spark of Rebellion movie like Episode 1, and then this is Episode 2, like officially. Yeah, anyway, into the episode. I thought it was a good episode. I don't think it was as good as the first two-parter, just because that was very character focused. That gave you a hint at a lot of things to come. This, as the first kind of normal episode of the show, was a little bit kind of, you know, just like, okay, solid opening, solid start, but it's one of those things like, I hope not all of the episodes are like this. I hope there is a bit more plot. I hope there's a bit more character in episodes going forward. But that said, there was some nice stuff in this episode. It was, I suppose, technically a Zeb focused episode, in that the kind of key emotional part of the episode was about Zeb. And the rifles that they found, obviously these disruptor things, were used on his people, and he's one of the last ones left, and that's why there was a kind of reaction to finding these things, and why he wanted them destroyed rather than them trying to sell them to make money, which I suppose in itself is an interesting thing for the group, that they are just rebels. Like, they apparently, none of them really have jobs apart from being part of this rebel alliance, and so yes, they need, as I said, they need money for fuel, food and stuff like that to keep the ship going and stuff like that, and of course weapons and stuff like that, they still need that. And so they have to kind of resort to doing these kind of illegal things, like going back to the guy they were working for in the first episode, and that I assume this will come back and forth, like the guy will be like a recurring character, and that they resort to him for these kind of black market kind of sales deals and so on, but that in itself was fairly interesting. And then ultimately, the key part of the episode was that C-3PO and R2-D2 were in the episode, and ultimately our group of rebels, as well as those two, were actually working for the same thing, even though they kind of ended up kind of hindering each other a little bit over the course of the episode, which I found pretty interesting. Just the idea that R2-D2, I think, says something, C-3PO mentions, what's secret mission, as he kind of walks by, which I think is a reference to one of the movies. And yeah, they apparently were going to mislead the minister as well away from these disruptors, on the plan of Bail Organa, apparently, which R2-D2 knew about, but not C-3PO. And obviously the rebels were going to sell them, but then when they were followed, they tried to destroy them. It was a fairly simple episode in that sense, and that I felt like there's a lot of character stuff to talk about with the first one, but this one, there are a few key points in there. The reveal of Bail Organa at the end, that this group has come into contact with R2-D2, C-3PO, and Bail Organa now, and R2-D2 was recording this whole thing the whole time, and now Bail Organa is going to know about these guys. And so this kind of links up these two groups and kind of gives us a hint as to where the whole Rebel Alliance comes from, and that fundamentally him and some of the other senators who disagreed with the formation of the Empire formed the main basis, like Mon Mothma and people like that, formed the main basis for the Rebel Alliance. Add on to that little groups like Kanan and his group, and you have basically the full Rebel Alliance. And obviously he's a big supporter of the Jedi. When he finds out that Kanan, or at least Ezra's a Jedi, or in training, that could be a big moment, and I assume we'll see Bail Organa in future episodes as well. And this may be where Princess Leia comes into the show, because obviously that's where Leia is with Bail Organa. That's what happened at the end of episode 3. So that she'd be a really cool character to actually see introduced, because I think her backstory is kind of like that. She's been in politics for a very long time, so that'll be interesting to see. I think it's confirmed for sure she's going to be in some of the comic series coming out next year for the show, so that's interesting. And then just Ezra does a force push for the first time. That was interesting, and I suppose that was an odd part of the episode. Just fairly random in that apparently Ezra's frustrated that Kanan hasn't done any Jedi training with him, even though in the first episode, the whole idea was that he took him on as like an apprentice, basically. And then they didn't really like explain why Kanan hadn't done any training. He just like said we're starting tomorrow, and Ezra was just like cool, and like it was Hera was required to like ask him about this. So it was just this kind of confusing plot. Like, was Kanan trying to put it off, or like was it just a case of they were so focused on other things that kind of fell to the wayside? It was just weird the way they kind of did that throughout the episode. It was kind of like it was like meant to be like a bigger part of the episode, and then it ended up like it was just a tiny one line thing. But I suppose it was interesting. It shows that Ezra has a lot of potential to be a really good Jedi, in that he seems to be getting a lot of things straight away, even without any formal training. So, seeing how he actually adapts to that will be pretty interesting. And like, does he teach him how to use the lightsaber straight away, force powers and stuff like this? That will be interesting. Agent Callus comes back into things, and he adds into the whole what happened to Zeb's people thing, and that he has this what's it called, bow rifle, and Zeb is obviously hates the fact that he has this, and he says only the honor guard or my people can use this, and I think by the end of the episode he takes that when obviously the explosions all occur. He takes that one, and his like put together one that's a very similar weapon is left behind. So that's a cool thing for him, that he has this weapon that's important to his people, and it's now he kind of has the weapon of like an honor guard. So there's potential for like his backstory to come out, and that's pretty interesting. And then one thing, I didn't mention it in the first review because I kind of thought I'd misheard it, but she says it again a lot more clear here. Hera refers to Kanan as love, I think twice in this episode, but either way, once in this episode, once in the first episode. So that's the whole romantic kind of shipping thing between them, which it will be interesting if they go full on with it, in that, okay, Kanan is very into the idea of like training him in the ways of the Force and stuff like that, but is he going to like teach him the full thing, and that you're not allowed to have attachments, or are they actually like going to be a couple at some point and stuff like that? Because especially in this episode, there was a little bit of hint of this in the first episode, but in this one, the scene between Hera and Ezra, where she taught him about what the Disruptors did to Zeb's people, was a very kind of mother-son type scene in the way she kind of acted, and that whole scene went. So the idea that this is kind of like a family really seems to be playing a role here, and I'll be very interested to see if they go down the road of just going full on in with the romance between Kanan and Hera. I'd like if they did that, just because romance, like especially in the Clone Wars, was very much in the background, and I'd like them to actually do something with it here, with these new characters and stuff like that. But yeah, anything else to talk about in the episode? I suppose I hope not all of the episodes are like this. I think it's 16 episodes in the first season, and I hope not all of them are like this. I hope there is a like overall plot to this series, and maybe with the introduction of Bail Organa, that's kind of come more into place, in that we're going to see the Rebel Alliance form, and maybe these first few episodes, like obviously this was kind of the Zeb focus episode. Maybe next week we'll get a Sabine focus episode, a Kanan one, a Hera one, and stuff like that, and then the kind of plot will come more in. I know that's kind of what a series like to do, so maybe something along those lines will happen, and then the kind of more plot focused stuff will come in with the Inquisitor. I think we hear that like Darth Vader's probably going to be in it at some point. Leia may be in it at some point. Bail Organa will likely come back. Obi-Wan, I know he has an action figure in the Rebels toy line, but I don't know if he's actually going to appear in the like flesh and blood in the episode. Like, characters actually interact with him, or if it was just for that one message. That'd be a really cool moment, because while it was cool to see R2D2 and C3PO, they've never been characters in Star Wars when like they've appeared that I've gone like I'm freaked out about. But if Obi-Wan did, that would kind of be like a really big thing for me. But yeah, you know, solid episode. Like I don't have like any major complaints about this episode, but at the same time, I don't think it was like amazing. Like I thought the premiere was very good. This one was just like, okay, that was a fun episode. I hope they have more character, more plot in the episodes, and I hope eventually like an overall plot kind of does come into things, that maybe the like formal formation of a rebel alliance will be the main plot, and that would be nice to see. And then of course like just the idea the training of Ezra will maybe be the main plot for a while now. But yeah, that's been the video. I'll definitely continue to review the series, of course. And yeah, should have my Korra review for Korra Alone out tomorrow. Whenever the Turtles episode comes out, it'll probably be like Sunday, maybe Monday when I get that out. And yeah, I might have a Korra news video out about the New York Comic Con stuff recently, plus maybe another video. But yeah, a lot of stuff planned, so that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.